Okay, I have the Sabbath commandment, and the letter of, number one, the letter of the commandment. We find the commandment, Exodus 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord had made the heavens and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord God blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Numbers 15:32-36. Now while the children of Israel were in the darkness, they found a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day. And those who found him gathering sticks brought him to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation. They put him under guard, because it had not been explained what should be done to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, "The man must surely be put to death. All the congregations shall stone him with stones outside the camp." So, as the Lord commanded Moses, all the congregation brought him outside the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died. The letter of the law is that you rest, you don't do anything, and you're supposed to, it's in honor of God. If you go to the spirit of the commandment, Isaiah 56 verse 2, "Blessed is the man who does this, and the Son of Man who lays hold on it, who keeps from defiling the Sabbath and keeps his hand from doing any evil." In Mark 2 verse 27, Jesus Christ said, "The Sabbath was made for man and not man for Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is also Lord of the Sabbath." We're not supposed to be a slave to the Sabbath. The Sabbath is supposed to be a blessing to us. It's supposed to be a day of rest. And if we become so caught up in keeping the Sabbath, it's almost to the point of worshiping the Sabbath, and that's not what God intended for us. And then in Matthew 12:12, I think this is a big part of the spirit of the Sabbath. "Of how much more value then is man than a sheep? Therefore is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand," and he stretched it out, and it was restored as whole as the other. In the context, he's healing a man, and it's on the Sabbath. We're supposed to do good on the Sabbath. And it doesn't mean, we go out and perform surgeries on the Sabbath that, aren't necessary. Well, I mean, I guess if they're necessary, you wouldn't have surgery. We're not supposed to go out and search out ways to help people on the Sabbath, like, mowing their lawn or things like that. But if we have an opportunity to do something good for people on the Sabbath, then we should. But again, we shouldn't, if it's something like, this person needs help mowing their lawn, you should wait until the Sabbath is over to do that. But anyways, that's the spirit of the Sabbath. Why was the commandment given and included in the 10? The Sabbath is huge. It's a huge commandment for a lot of different reasons. One, just for health reasons. If we didn't take the time out, and it's evident in our non-stop society with stress and heart conditions and strokes and ulcers, that we need time to rest. We need time for our bodies to rest and to be away from those things. It's also very symbolic. It represents the millennial rest that God has in store for all of mankind. And it is also a sign of God's people, which is pretty important too. Society's disregard and pressure not to keep it. It's everywhere. It's in mainstream Christianity, beginning with the Catholic Church changing the Sabbath to Sunday. And also there's, especially in our materialistic society, there's pressure to work on the Sabbath. You can't get ahead unless you work on the Sabbath. You're going to lose your job unless you work. And it's down to almost all, oh, there's this huge sale at this store coming up. Of course it's on the Sabbath. It's always on the Sabbath. But yeah, so that's society's disregard and pressure not to keep. Sports activities are always on the Sabbath, you know, Friday nights or Saturdays. I'm sure in other societies it's probably more difficult than in our society, but from a social standpoint it can be very difficult. From an economic standpoint, it can also be difficult if you you know, don't get a job because you can't work on the Sabbath, or you lose your job because you can't work on the Sabbath. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I have to say.